All right, guys, this is Bill Dean here with Bold Real Estate Investing, and I'm very happy to invite Noah, a friend of mine and a colleague who has been busy at work at college, but also finding time to wholesale. So I wanted to sit down with you, Noah, and just ask you some questions because we're at different stages of our investing career. You're fairly new, and I've been running around trying to do this stuff now for almost a decade. So it's really fun to see what's changed. You have a whole different thing going on than when I did. So I'm just excited to have you here. Thanks so much for sharing some time.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna run right into this. Noah would be what we call a wholesaler or bird dog, depending on what part of the country
hmm
you're from. And you haven't been at this very long, have you?
No, no, not for too long, but it's definitely come a long ways.
Excellent. Well, yeah. So just dig into your background. He and I are both from the same town, but you went to college or back to college this fall.
Yep.
And when we met, I'm going to just throw this up here. I mean, really, you learned about wholesaling probably last year,
At the
spring.
end of February, it was the last day of February last year, and that was the same day I met you and learned a, a very broad overview of what wholesaling is.
Yeah.
And I, from the moment I heard of it, I was very intrigued, and so I knew I had to learn more. Um, but over the next few months, everything kind of stalled. Um, like a lot of people, I learned about it and then just never did anything. But I realized after a little while, I absolutely needed to do it. And I just needed to get involved with real estate in itself.
Excellent.
So,
And when we were talking, it really sounded like the point of no return for you when you really made that line in the sand that it was time to start was after the softest closing, no pressure deal you ever went to, right?
yep, yep. Um, so, yeah, I started off with, like many people, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I listened to the audiobook and everything, and I listened to a lot of his other books. And we met at the free seminar, which is where I first learned about wholesaling. And then, um, so I did that, and then around May, I started learning how to dive into a property and really dissect it, because I love the process, and it's and I found I really enjoyed that, but I really wasn't getting anywhere. So I started doing that in May, and then around August of 2019, I was kind of still continuing to do that, but then I realized I really haven't done anything, and I need to. So then I was learning as much as I could, as quickly as I could over that period from August when I first moved to Fargo, North Dakota, for school. Um, so I started learning everything I could about the process and just how to get people's interest involved and use that to actually buy to wholesale their properties.
So, what kind of things were you digging into to learn more about this on your own?
A lot of podcasts. Uh, there were a lot of very good podcasts out there, both for how to deal with the phone calls and how to write how to phrase your letters and phrasing different things so you don't come off really strong at people because you want to come across as people's friend, and um, and that's a difficult thing to do with a lot of people, but but you do find that you can have more success when you do come across that way.
Yes, when you actually care about those people and you're trying to help them rather than just trying to make a sale or a transaction.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then in October, my friend and I, we went to our 3-day seminar, and my parents don't know. It was in Fargo. Yep. And so we learned a little more about some other things, but overall it was 7 hours of information, and the rest of the time was entirely just a sales pitch.
Yeah. So for people who
Very
don't know,
good.
so Rich Dad will do a free 1-day seminar, Robert Kiyosaki's company, and then they sign you up for a 3-day. And during that 3-day, they very, very, very strongly push you towards buying their program, which is anywhere
Mm-hmm.
from $12,000 to $40,000.
Oh, the baseline starts at 20.
All right, so 20. So I went through that 8-9 years ago, so it's even changed.
Yeah.
But so it is a sales program to get people into his real estate. But the nice thing is these guys do stay up on what they're doing, so you can get some good information. You just have to learn to say no a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big moment. I remember you actually calling me that night because you're just like, "Oh man, like this is cool."
I was very stressed. It was a rough week as it was, but the issue came down for me. They would go after you emotionally. They weren't giving you information that would entice you to want. They would give you just enough information that would want you to learn more, so that you would want to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't expand on it. They wouldn't do anything extra, and everything else was just very emotionally pitched. And it took its toll on it took a big toll on me on day 2. So coming back for the 3rd day was really tough.
Well, and I mean, just to summarize, in it, like by the time you got through it, though, like you were different. You had a new fire, and you weren't just on the sideline anymore. You're like,
Yep.
you know what? I don't have to spend $20,000 to do what I'm already learning to do, and
Yes.
that led you to. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff, but specifically, I want to say, so how did you go from that to finding people to work with and partner up with wholesaling?
Well, actually, so here's the thing. I had already been doing that. Living in Fargo, we have a meetup on meetup.com for real estate.
Okay.
So I would go and I would meet there are lawyers, insurance agents, but the main thing I was looking for was cash buyers. So I've been finding cash buyers for months, and because they would go to these meetups. So I would go meet with them, and we would start building a relationship. And there were actually quite a few that now I've built a list of buyers, which is very important, because you don't want to get involved with the property and not have anyone that will buy it.
Exactly. That is the first thing people do is they think wholesale, I need to go find bad properties and then go find the people that sell the property too.
Yep. So I had been going to, I think I'd been to 2 meetings by the time I had gone to this 3-day seminar. So I already had a few cash buyers. And then, so leaving the seminar, I'm like, all right, I need to get this done. So then over the month of, because that was late October. So then over the month of November, I was really getting into, all right, I'm going to drive different routes all around Fargo just to see where I can find problem properties.
Yeah, we always call that driving for money, driving
Mm-hmm.
for dollars. Here we go.
Yep. So, and so I actually found a property that's actually on the street I live in Fargo. It's just, about a mile down, and I think I'd already known about it at this point, but I had been so scared. I didn't know what to do. So I finally was like, I'm taking action. I need to do this. So I went on and I found their mailing address and I wrote them a letter, and along with a few other people. Uh, so I wrote a letter to this place. No reply. Well, then about a little while later, I had been going along with different ideas. I had made flyers. I used my printing money through the school to print off flyers for myself that
There
I
you
could
go.
tape at in the windows of businesses and in all sorts of other things. And the important thing was, uh, I made sure I used what a lot of people recommend: yellow letter, or not yellow letters, yellow background with black letters. Just make
Yep.
it pop out at people. We
Yep.
buy houses fast, and just put on your phone number. So I did that and went out, and I had been posting these flyers all over the place anywhere I could. Wasn't really getting anywhere with that. I'm like, well, I'm gonna just I'm gonna drive for dollars. I'm gonna find these people, and I'm going to write them letters. And so the first house I had been doing didn't get a reply back. So then I was like, well, I'll keep looking, because I'm going to school at the same time. I'm working two jobs. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just kept fixating on this one house for months, and then we got snowfall in. I think this was late November. We had gotten some snowfall, and actually at this point it had been piling up. And I realized, so this house is abandoned. I know that. Two houses north, there's another abandoned house. I had been paying no attention to it, because the other one is the one that had the bad lawn, overgrown trees that were covering up the door.
Yeah. You fell
And
in love with the property.
yep. And I'm like, oh, I could make this work. But then I found this other property. I'm like, I was driving by and I noticed it. And then I looked inside, and I could see through the window, like, there is something going on in there. I'm gonna write both of these people on a letter. So I wrote both of them a letter, and shockingly, I got a call from this new one that I had just found. And
Surprise.
yep. And so the guy is a plumber. He had come. He had been. It was his house, but they had moved out so that he could tear it out and completely redo everything. So they had stripped it down to the baseboards, and he's a master plumber in North Dakota. So he did all, and so he was doing this to pay for his workers to have some work over the winter,
Very
as
common.
they often do.
Yep.
And it just so happened it was his house. So So we were talking, and he didn't want to. He wasn't really sure whether or not he was going to sell. I'm like, well, I was trying to get this sale done before Christmas break. I was actually trying to get all of the paperwork done before Christmas break, and then come to find out he wasn't even sure if he was going to sell. I was going way over the top. I had a buyer lined up and everything, because I had no idea how to appraise the value on the property. So I brought in a friend who I had met through the meetup, and he works. He's very happy to work with college students that have no idea what they're doing.
They're just excited and are willing to get out there and put in some hustle.
Yep. So I called him up. I'm like, I have no idea what to do on this house. Will you come look at it with me? So he came out. We went and looked at the property. He's like, all right, this is what I would offer. Telling me what I should offer him, and then what I would be able to get out of it. So we're like, all right, we can make this work. Well, I was trying to get this done before the end of school in December, and he was nowhere ready to sell. What ended up happening, I'm just like, all right, we're just going to let it sit for a while. I'm going to focus on finding some other properties, and I'm going to see what else I can find, because this one apparently is probably not going to work. And so I just kind of let it sit, just call him up occasionally, be like, hey, or what are you thinking? Because I'm not a natural salesperson. And so finally, after a while, he's like, all right, I'm taking a test to get my master plumber license in North Carolina. If I pass, I've got a job lined up in North Carolina. We will sell it essentially immediately.
Yay!
So I'm like, all right, well, good luck on your test. And so he ended up passing, and I had been in contact with the people that close the property.
Oh, title company?
Yeah, title company.
Yep.
Sorry, the name was escaping me for a moment. So I had been in contact with the title company. So I had just I had one of their generic contracts, and I went through and I did all sorts of contract work trying to fit all the fancy stuff in there I could, make it seem as professional as possible. And just tried to close as many loopholes as possible, just because we weren't bringing a lawyer into this. This is my first property. I'm making $1,500 off of this. I'm just trying to do this with no risk.
Yep.
Absolutely no risk in case this falls apart. So we had the contract. I wrote up the contract, using essentially theirs, and then just making adjustments as we wanted. And then we got the contract signed. I took him over to the title company myself, and so when all was said and done, I think I put in 25 or so hours and made $1,500. So
it's like $60 an hour, not bad.
Yeah, for a college student, I'll take that.
Yeah. So that's really cool. I mean, there's so many good things you said throughout this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hope people don't miss this, but you took action.
Mm-hmm.
And
That
so
is
many,
the very important thing.
yeah, yeah, you were going to these meetups, meetup.com. Other times you can find them on Facebook groups, whatnot, but real physical ones where you actually meet people are so much better.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing that. You actually got out of your car. I know people who drive for money, but they're too afraid to actually stop and take a picture or knock on a
Uh-huh.
door. So you're getting out of the car. You're
Yep.
doing all the physical things that most people just don't want to do. They want to sit in front of a computer and click away.
Mm-hmm. And
So
and you can do that, but you're not going. It's not going to happen quite as quickly.
and not when we
The way
have.
I found, because I'm doing some of that too. I've taken advice on yours for posting ads to buy properties throughout where you can online,
Mhm.
and so, but you get a little bit of traffic. I've gotten, I think I've gotten 2 calls off of that over the last few months,
No.
and so just trying to. It's important to figure out what works for you. Now, I was in an interesting position. I wanted no money spent because I'm a college student and well, my
You're
parents are
already you're already
my
spending
parents
money.
are very, yes, I'm already spending money. I've built up so much money. I'm a pharmacy student, so it's even worse. And my parents are on me to be like, don't spend money unnecessarily on real estate. So I took that to heart. I'm like, well, I'm gonna buy this 3-day, and that is going to be it. That is the only thing I'm going to spend money on until I earn money and can prove that this is actually somewhat viable. um, so I did that. So after, and I had no entity, nothing. So I did that and made $1,500 off of it. I have taken that money and I have invested in uh, setting up my entity, which is which should hopefully be getting approved by the state here shortly. I don't know when. It,
Well,
it was I had gone in. It was over spring break, which was right at the start of everything with coronavirus. So I don't know what's keeping the state moving slowly on it. The lawyer who actually also does my family's taxes uh, did filed for it, and we so I am working on that,
well, no,
but
I
I
just
haven't gotten back with my EIN and whether or not it's been approved.
well, and that's something we'll talk about another
Uh-huh.
time as far
Yep.
as going into legal entities. Because
Yep.
really, I mean, you're a full-time college student.
Mm-hmm.
You have what, 1 or 2 jobs outside of that as
2
well.
jobs.
So you found time to make the most of your driving around.
Mm-hmm.
You actually took some time to write some letters. You were listening to podcasts, learning. You're going to these groups. So pretty much you got where the buyers were. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
people who are actually going to flip the house, make it a rental, do whatever. And
Yep.
then you were actively finding sellers. You weren't just sitting online. You weren't just doing any of that. Because, of
Mm-hmm.
course, the easiest way is the way most people will do it. So the fact you actually got out, were peeking in windows, which
Mm-hmm.
just even getting out of the car, most people won't do. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those are all the right steps. And now it's just refining them. And as you get better at it,
Yep.
I mean, from when I first started making phone calls to find contract for deeds, you know, which is my favorite thing. And what I sounded like from day one versus now, like what I have memorized is so different. So I just wanted to show people like, hey, you know, you're a year in, but you didn't really start until you moved to Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, if we really say it, within 5 months, you had your first check, and all you really did was spend printing material and gas.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, just a little bit of printing material and just a little bit of gas because it's been on my route from NDSU to my apartment.
So the real question, are you going to keep doing this?
Oh, absolutely. So that was the other thing that I did with the money. I paid for a mailing, a big mailing list, and sent out a bunch of letters. And they just arrived. They were just arriving with people here. So I got a few calls last week.
Fantastic.
Nothing too special, but I think I might be able to make. I'm working on finding something that'll work.
And the thing with mailers, we talk about in the class, but you recommend 6 to 8 times to the same number. So yeah, but even just getting calls, the nice thing is where we are, they're not used to getting 40 letters from investors. Here in North Dakota, it's just not quite like it is in your big cities, your New Yorks, your Seattles, your California, which is just, so it's fun to see. And I'm glad you're staying on the chase. So guys, this is, from his mouth himself. I mean, have you ever even been on a podcast before?
I have not.
So, I mean, I look forward to continuing this and what you're learning because, I mean, for now, obviously go get your pharmacy degree and kick butt, but I love learning these stories because what you guys don't know is I've been on the sideline hearing some of this, talking about it, sending him some documents. That's all part of the program. So the fact is, we do this to help each other. It's not a zero-sum game. It's fun to watch Noah succeed. Plus, gets him a couple more swings into sticking in the real estate side of things. But I know pharmacy is going to win. But Noah, I just want to thank you for spending some time today. Is there anything you'd like to tell any prospective wholesaler, someone who's just starting out?
Well, the thing I've found is have fun with it. If you can make it fun, you can do it as long as you want. And so one of the things is so you've got my name up here. It's Noah. Well, my company, the title I've been going under for myself is Noah's Ark Real Estate Solutions. Just have fun with it. And when I sent out one of my letters, one of the phone calls I got, they had received other letters before, but they called mine specifically because of my name. So just have
so
fun.
Awesome.
And
yes.
So that was one of the funniest things I've heard. There really wasn't. I don't think I'm going to do anything with that property, but if you can find different areas to have fun with it, it'll make the experience much more enjoyable. It won't seem like it won't seem as scary. And I've been pushing myself out of my comfort zone a lot lately, just in anything I would do. And this is just the area I knew I had to really get to know it, because I love real estate. And so have fun with it. Don't stress out too much. It's going to be all right.
Yep. Find a good partner. Like you had. That was one of the keys. Find a mentor, someone to help you, because he told you what to offer and how to make money on that first deal.
And utilize Bill as a resource. That is one of the best things I can say.
I did not pay him to say that, by the way. Full disclosure.
Nope, he did not. I'm not getting paid. That's fine.
No, it's just fun to see your success, and I can't wait to hear as you get better, as you get more systems in place, where this will go. Because I mean, we're talking to you, less than maybe 45 days after you closed, but you're not even a full year into actively trying to wholesale. So I'm really excited to see what you have down the road. Hopefully, we'll pop you back on here. But for now, thanks again, Noah, and Noah's Ark Real Estate Solutions. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you with some more good news.
Yep. Sounds good.